All right, so hello. I am absent again today. I'm feeling much better. However, shortly after arriving to school, I get a phone call saying, "No, your kid's sick, so I need to go back." The good news is that I've got a really great solution for solving a lot of problems. One potential problem is that maybe a couple people didn't successfully upload their Times New Roman project, which as soon as this video is over, not right now, as soon as the video is over, that'll be a first thing that you want to get done because we are going to still look at, grade, and critique those on Friday. I will definitely be here Friday. The other problem that I knew about was after this Times New Roman activity where we're focusing on a principle of design, we move into typography, which is using font and text to not only communicate a message through the words that it creates, but through design. And we can see a lot of examples of typography here. So what I typed in is Helvetica, which is a typeface, a graphic design. And this is pretty standard typography. This is how you use text and design to further communicate or engage an audience. Students find that bridging that gap between design and writing often difficult. And this little break that has been placed in front of us, which is today, I think I want to try an activity that might help with that. So I chose Helvetica. If you Google most common fonts, Helvetica's gonna be in the top couple for sure. It's a super common font. It says the little black dress of typography, meaning it goes well with just about everything. There's different types of Helvetica, like a light version, a regular, a bold, and there's even more versions beyond this. And that's not a foreign concept. We generally are aware of, italics and bold font. But where you start to see it pop up, I say everywhere, but it's just used subtly differently from weights. Oh, let's scroll through quickly. I'm going to go ahead and play this just so you guys can... Nope, we don't need the sound. Sorry. No. Larger. Okay, maybe not larger. We're going to get there eventually. So what this is going to show you is just basically every single place that you've not noticed what you were looking at. And that's kind of the thing about it, is it's everywhere, but you never notice it. It is a sans serif font, and we'll talk more about fonts as we get into typography, meaning it's a rather simple, not very decorative font. And it doesn't have a lot going on with it. You can use it in different ways. Oh man, they're going so fast. You can do a lighter version. You can do a heavier version for a bolder statement. But it's just very readable. It's both very modern and pretty classic. It's not too fun. It's not too serious. It's really universal. So there's probably Helvetica in the room or on your person right now, and you just don't even necessarily realize it. So what should we know about Helvetica before we move any further? I saw some characteristics. So it's pretty bold. You might take note that the S is in a square shape. That it's difficult to read when it gets really small. And it can appear rather dense. But when I say it can appear dense, well, you just use a light version. What the assignment is, kind of long intro for that, is you're going to write your name using Helvetica. So that's it. I'm not going to give you many more rules or requirements than that. What is your name? It's the first question. I'm not going to give you any more guidance than that. I think all of us know our name. But do I mean first name, last name, both, full name, nickname? I don't know. So your name, it should be the only text on there. It must be Helvetica. With that said, there's a lot of variations on that. So if we pop over to Illustrator, we'll bounce back and forth. We're going to do this in 8.5 by 11 again. New. 8.5 by 11. Let's go horizontal or landscape format. And again, we'll just type, let's go John Sterling. Ooh. Make that larger so we can see more clearly to start with. And I'm going to go and switch this to Helvetica. So I have, it says 6 different options for Helvetica. Light, light oblique, italicized, regular, regular italicized, bold, bold italicized. Sure. And you know what I'm going to go ahead and do? I'm going to go ahead and go all caps and mix it up. I would recommend you give yourself some options. You don't want to go too crazy. You still want it to be semi-readable, but let's go ahead and go object, expand, object, ungroup, just like we did before. Now what if I take that? I don't really want to use that. I'm going to go again here, object, expand, object, ungroup. And just a really quick, I have written my name in Helvetica. Done. Well, no. So that was simple enough. What I want us to focus on here, though, is still executing like we did before, a principle of design. So the criteria, or the requirements really, are that you use your name and that you use Helvetica font. Our goal is to create an interesting principle of design. Already I've started off by having 2 very different versions of this font, light, italicized, and bold. So that's already starting kind of this idea of contrast. Well, here's another tip for you. Type in typography or graphic design or font graphic design or Helvetica typography, Helvetica graphic design, and you will get stuff like this. And we can see the possibilities become almost limitless. So far I've only got black text on a white background, but I can change the background. I can change the color of my fonts. This might be a good one for me to demo just because it shows a new skill that we might not have tried before. We see this diagonal shape of the background cutting through it, but also then it changed the font itself. So how you would do that is, let's go ahead and create a big rectangle. Let's go ahead and say the fill of that, we'll go ahead and make red. Can't go wrong with red, black, and white. My selection tool. I'm going to go ahead and rotate it. I want it to be a little bit thinner. Okay. Not sure that I even love what's happening so far, but I'm going to demo it so you can see. I'm going to select all these. Now remember, my font, I expanded and then ungrouped it. So these are not letters. These are shapes. These are objects. And if I select this shape, the rectangle, and these shapes, my font, I can go Window, Pathfinder. Opening my Pathfinder window is going to give me these options here. Divide, trim, merge, crop, things like that. All of these do different versions of the same thing. The most basic of them, though, is going to be divide. So I'm going to click divide, and it's probably going to mess things up for me, but we'll solve it. And in clicking divide, what it's done is cut everywhere that lines were intersecting. So now this is a shape, but also this is a shape. So if I click, let me go object, ungroup that again. That shape, its fill is currently red, but now if I switch my fill to white, we're getting an idea of how this could play out. What if we then go, what's happening? Nope, wrong button, shift. And then maybe I say these stay black. I need you. Okay. Doesn't really fit the page, but we select everything, hold shift so we don't distort. Whoa, that's a lot bigger. Let's see if it's too big. It is. Okay. Still way too big. And I stretched it. Command Z is your undo. The unfortunate part. There we go. I was thinking we were going to have to basically start over. View. View. Window Navigator to see what this is going to look like. And it doesn't look very good. I mean, it shows contrast. This angle being different than the ends angle is really weird. And like that little tiny spot there is weird. So attention to detail will still be the name of the game here. But I just wanted to show you the Pathfinder tool for cutting and dividing and changing parts of letters. And again, that was divide. That allowed me to separate things into separate parts. And you want to use the selection tool to select all the different parts that are going to be slicing each other. Yeah, lots of different ideas on how you can do that. Again, the requirement is must use Helvetica, must be your name. You can use any other tools or colors beyond that. Don't bring any other things in that you don't own, like don't bring in any other photographs or images. You can use shapes and colors just like we did with the color Times New Roman assignment. And our goal is to also show a clear principle of design. I would encourage ones like contrast, rhythm, so repeating things to create visual movement, perhaps symmetrical balance, emphasis on a specific area, movement, visual movement. I would add pattern and unity, of course, are principles too. As I look over your guys' assignments, I see a lot of variety, which is great. Once again, and I see this every year, see a lot of pattern. It's not wrong. I just don't want us to dwell on what is really one of the simplest principles of design. I did create a Helvetica Name folder, and that is where you will turn in the PDF of your Helvetica Name. So, to lay out the kind of timeline and what we're doing, first, if you haven't turned in your Times New Roman, turn that in. That will be graded and critiqued in class tomorrow. You will not have time to work tomorrow. I'm going to give you the rest of today to work on the Helvetica Name. And, I would say at a minimum, make some good progress. Save it, of course, as the Adobe Illustrator file. I think when I get back, I'll be back tomorrow, but on Monday, I'll give some feedback and we'll wrap up Helvetica. So don't save it as the PDF, which would kind of finalize it. We'll all finish and turn in Helvetica on Monday. So you want to make a lot of progress, but if you don't fully finish in a thing that you're super happy with, you'll have a little bit of time to extend that. But again, this is definitely due. You can message me with questions. I should be fairly available, and good luck.